The Old Testament prophet Isaiah looked around him and he did not like what he saw. Things were messed up, and that's putting it lightly. God had plucked this prophet up out of obscurity and commissioned him to speak truth to a nation who refused to listen, to point others to truth, though they refused to see it. There's an old story about a man who lived in a small village with his only son and a single horse, and one day the horse escaped, so the man was left with no earthly possessions. The local villagers heard about his plight and they told him, "You are cursed." But the man responded, "We do not know if this is a blessing or a curse. All we know is that my horse escaped." On the next day, his wayward horse returned, but it returned with several other wild horses. Now the man had more earthly possessions than he had started with. The local villagers heard about his good fortune and they told him, "You are blessed." The man responded, "We do not know if this is a blessing or a curse. All we know is that now I have many horses." A week later, the man's only son attempted to train one of the wild horses. The untamed wild horse knocked him down and broke his leg. The local villagers heard about the man's son and they came and they told him, "You are cursed." But the man responded, "We do not know if this is a blessing or a curse. All we know is that my son's leg is broken." On the very next day, an army general came through the town, recruiting every able-bodied young man in the village and sending them off to war. All of the young men were forced to go with the general. Well, all of the young men, of course, except for the one with the broken leg. At this point, the villagers, all of whom had lost their young sons that day, came to the man and through their tears, they said, "You are blessed." Finally, the man said, "It is impossible to talk with you. You continue to draw conclusions from things that you do not know. We do not know if this is a blessing or a curse. All we know is that your sons went off to war and my son remains at home with me. We do not know how this story will end. No one is wise enough to know," the man said. "Only God knows." For most things in life, we simply do not know how the story ends. If circumstances are trending positive, we think we're on top of the world. But if circumstances are trending downward, we think it's the end of the world. This is a really foolish way to live our lives, especially for those of us who have put our faith and hope in Jesus Christ alone. And check out this verse from the 11th chapter of the book of Isaiah. "There shall come forth a shoot from the stump of Jesse, and a branch from his roots shall bear fruit." Isaiah 11, verse 1. In Isaiah's day, Israel was experiencing a significant downward trend. The nation was in moral decline. The people were far from God. They were spiritually dry and spiritually blind. They were like a once beautiful, fruitful tree that had been cut down. But that was not the end of the story. Isaiah spoke of the day when a shoot would come up from the stump and the shoot would become a fruitful branch. That shoot, of course, was Jesus Christ. If you just look at the stump, you would think it is the end of the story. And if you continued in this way of thinking, you would completely miss what God was up to. You would completely miss the story of redemption. Imagine how the followers of Jesus must have felt when he was taken away and he was crucified. If you just looked at his death, you would think that was the end of the story. If you continued in this way of thinking, you would completely miss what God was up to. You would completely miss the resurrection. And what about us today? What is happening in the story of our lives today? Are the circumstances surrounding our lives trending positive or trending downward? Either way, we can resolve to do as Isaiah did and choose to look at our circumstances through eyes of faith. Our story is not over yet. We don't know with the current things that are happening if they're blessings or if they're curses, but we know that God's character is good. He is kind, He is loving, He is compassionate, He has a plan and He has a purpose for our lives. Your story is not over yet. And believe me, you do not want to miss what God is up to.
What a great reminder for us to look at the world through eyes of faith rather than through eyes of fear. The only fear that should be present in our lives is a good, healthy fear of the Lord. When we're fully trusting in Him and in His good and perfect plan, then everything else seems to have a way of just working out. This week, may we choose to pursue Jesus and walk towards His brilliant light rather than being sidetracked by the darkness that so often surrounds us. As a bit of an encouragement for your week, we wanted to share a new song that Jeff is currently recording in the studio called Brilliant Light.
Walking through the great unknown, how your morning sun brings hope, a hope that is rising, daily unfailing. And when I'm blinded by the lies, I'm reminded by your light, your hope it keeps rising, it's daily unfailing. So I lift my eyes up to the hills, my help will come. And I will press on into your brilliant light, pushing through the dark of night, how those shadows taunt my life, pulling me under, making me wonder. Still your hope is on display, moonlit paths will light my way, reflecting your glory, retelling your story. So I lift my eyes up to the hills, my help will come. I will press on, I will hold on and trust your heart. I lift my eyes up to your brilliant light. When you paint the skies with your brilliant light, shining through the day and lighting up the night, you remind my soul that I'm not alone, and there's no place I walk you've not already gone. You will light my way. So I lift my eyes up to the hills, my help will come. I will press on, or I will hold on and trust your heart. I lift my eyes up to your brilliant light.